Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, if the case may be. This is the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews on the Ion Cannon podcast with the Underworld Podcast Network. I'm Matthew. He is Chris. We got only two books today, both in the Dark Droids crossover event. Chris is going looking for rummaging around the wiring there and on that ship there. But let's dive right into D-Squad number 2, written by Mark Guggenheim, art by Salva Espin, colors by Israel Silva, cover
Cool
by
cover.
Aaron Cooter and Frank Martin. There's the cover there. The Battle of the Circuitry, R2 versus BT, 000 versus IG-88, a Dark Droids tie-in. R2's adventure across the galaxy to rescue his friend C-3PO continues, but does R2 need rescuing himself? Guest starring 000, IG-88, and 4LOM. I've got to say, 000 still in the show in this one. Right, triple zero, right? Not BT. 000 is the protocol droid.
Yes,
Yeah,
BT is the astromech. Yep.
Yeah, the description threw me off because the entire issue is 000 and R2 basically bantering away. This was got to be one of the funniest comics I've ever read in Star Wars in a long time. I was laughing, chuckling multiple times, and it's really great because 000, his shtick was getting tiring through the Kieran Gillen run a little bit. It's like, oh, I want to murder people. I'm disappointed that I can't murder people. But here was hilarious, especially I think because the foil with R2 just being the straight man there and being, not so much a straight man, just being annoyed and grumpy and saying, we got to help 3PO. We got to help 3PO. I am curious to know what his argument really is. Yeah, we get a bit about free will and droid rights and whatnot, and it seems that 000 does care a little bit about that, but that's the thing. Kieran Gill and Alyssa Wong has been good to stay away from 000 and BT, I think, again because they've been overused and that joke has been overused. But here the contrast with R2 really it really made it funny again. And Mark Guggenheim's writing, just the ridiculousness of and even the contrast with the Scourge and with everything that the Scourge might represent for 000 and BT, which is a different angle that we haven't seen. Right, we know what it represents for our heroes. We have a sense of what it might represent for Vader and them. But for these random murder droids who are on their own, what does it represent for them? And it is a different sort of threat to them. There's one more thing. The one thing also, I think it's similar to D-Squad number 1, the action and just the beeps and the panels without any dialogue. When R2 does take on BT and is luring BT into that hangar there, that action, credit to Salva Espin for really drawing exciting, gripping action in a comic book, which is hard to do. Doesn't always work, but Salva did a fantastic job. So that's all what I got to say for this one. What do you got? We got it to say there, Chris?
Yeah, Matthew, this was, like you said, this is really funny. I mean, attacking IG-88 with a fire extinguisher. He even says it out loud. He's like, "Are you attacking me with a fire extinguisher?" Like, just great stuff. Playing off of the idea, like you said before, like these droids are known for killing people between BT and 000, and the idea where 000 is like, well, he's killing more people than usual. Like, people are just running around. Let's kill our droid. They kill our droid. So I really like the pacing. Oh my gosh, the pacing was so good. The way Mark Guggenheim wrote this story, it's just like it's one thing after the other. First, it's R2 running into 000. Then it's them, fighting against BT. Then it's them fighting against IG. Then it's him working for IG-88 and then fighting against 4LM essentially in the next issue. It's like one thing after the other. And as I said in my review on the channel, it's like this has been a very dark moment in Star Wars, but I feel like this specific story is kind of like a lighthearted moment of this whole thing. I like how this really puts the emphasis on R2. This is, it's called D-Squad, but let's just call this R2, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, because every other character is kind of in and out of these stories, I realized, but it's R2 who is the hero, and it's cool that R2 finally gets his due, because going back to A New Hope, he is the savior of our heroes. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit for, doing things like, reversing the trash compactor and, getting the Millennium Falcon data with Empire Strike, like all these really big moments, cutting them out of the thing and Return of the Jedi with the net, like all these big moments. And it's great to actually see him. I feel like R2 could be the possible savior of everybody with the Scourge, because as we've seen this, 000 is like, oh yeah, if we electrocute him, BT, maybe that'll snap him out of it. And we didn't see we didn't actually see how that got resolved yet.
Right.
But what if that is the reason? Because that's not something I really thought about, is like, what happens to get everybody back to normal? Obviously, C-3PO, a major character in Star Wars. How does he get back to his senses? Like, what's going to happen? What kind of antidote? What kind of solution? Well, it seems like maybe we're getting the answer in D-Squad. So I like how D-Squad is that fun adventure, but we're also getting kind of a pivotal piece of information for perhaps what could happen towards the end of this thing.
That's a great point, and something that that occurred to me. Yeah, that it may be part of the solution to the Scourge, and one of the ways to resolve it. Maybe not always with a pod racer. That was amazing. I saw that we saw that in the hangar there. There's the pod racer. Are they going to bring it out? Is this going to happen? And you have R2 or is it no, it's 000 driving a pod racer into BT. It's amazing.
Oh my god!
But yeah, that's
brilliant.
a great point. You first of all, how do we get start to deal with this problem, and also then what effect is it going, lingering effect might it have? Might it have something to do, I don't know, with the way 3PO is able to be the head of intelligence for the Resistance? Is there some sort of change to their programming? What we know with droids in Star Wars is that they can experience things and they can grow. And what character moment is this whole thing going to have on them? How is that going to connect to Return of the Jedi? I don't know. One last point I want to make, I was thinking about how it's billed as, the successor to the D-Squad in Clone Wars, but without any Meeber Gascon, without without the other droids that made up D-Squad. And but on the one hand, that's true, but on the other hand, it has that wild, just slightly off, goofy nature to it. I love that arc in Clone Wars. It's a very George Lucas arc. This seems to be bringing that back, and a thing that one of those things that people might be sleeping on. People slept on that arc a little bit, and it it had some implications for Gregor in Rebels, for example. Bringing him back and just delving into the clones. I wonder what the numbers for this arc are, that it also has this important implication for the Dark Droids crossover overall. It's a good question. I hope people are paying attention to this one, because these two issues, and I mean, people definitely tend to love people tend to love R2, and so maybe that's a point in its favor. I will say, before I turn back to you, one last thing. Next week or next issue, the variant cover, I forget, is it the Lashley variant, I think, has KT, the pink droid name. And so I don't know if KT is actually in this story, but and maybe, and so I think number 3 has the pink droid that was modeled after or like created in honor of a young fan who died of cancer. And so again, bringing that up in a more serious, weighty thing in the middle of this goofy D-Squad comic. So all those thoughts. And do you have any more thoughts on D-Squad number 2?
Yeah, Matthew, I love the idea of IG-88 versus 4LM. I think that's a great cliffhanger, because they're both standing on the bridge of the Star Destroyer and Empire Strikes Back, and it's like, these guys, we've gotten the Bounty Hunters issues, but we haven't really seen them go head to head. IG-88 has been off on his own, and I like there's lots of references between the two comic books we're talking about today, Dr. Aphra included. Like, there's a lot of editor notes, which I appreciate, because half the time they don't include those, but it's like, refer back to IG-88 when he destroyed all of the Unbroken clan and left General Vakora alive and all that kind of thing. Like, there's great history here
Mhm.
with these characters, and it's going to be a theme where I like this week, especially with the comics, as we'll talk with
Mhm.
Dr. Aphra. There's a lot of, you know, coming together with some of these characters from
Yep.
different stories that we normally wouldn't see in the same comic book run,
Mhm.
and they're coming together. This is really starting to feel like the great crossover, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's not done just for the money at this point. Specifically, it's like they're not just shoving these people down, you know, in the
Sure.
first issue. Like, they're actually building to something, and it's part of the story that this is happening. And you know, they're taking their time with it, essentially, is the best part about it. They're taking their time. There's this overarching story, and it's
Mhm.
all making sense, and each one of these comic book stories has a certain element
Mhm.
that will be needed to actually combat the Scourge, to actually defeat the Scourge eventually, and move on with the whole story as a whole.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, love that. I like the history with 000, the nice little Easter egg with Milvain. I looked that up on Wikipedia because it's been a while. Apparently,
Yeah.
that was a
Yeah.
storyline from the first volume of Doctor Aphra towards the end of it, which
Mhm.
I think it had something to do with the propaganda person that was in charge by
Oh,
the
yeah,
Empire.
the satellite ship.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I vaguely remember that
Yeah.
storyline. It's been a while, so
Yeah. No, that's yeah, the Darth Mark slash Mark DeLorean, the editor there. Yeah, really, yeah, really coming together, really bringing things together. There in this one, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is the first instance we see. If you read D-Squad and then Doctor Aphra, it's the first instance of a cyborg being taken over by the Scourge. So,
Mhm.
or maybe we saw Lobot last week. I forget. Oh no, we saw
What about
Lobot last
last
week.
week?
So we saw Lobot last week. Cyborg this week,
Mhm.
and then here's a good segue for Doctor Aphra. Uh, we see Cyborg taken over by the Scourge in this one. Spoiler alert. Doctor Aphra number 37, written by Alyssa Wong, art by Minkyu Jung and Jethro Morales, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, and cover by In-hyuk Lee. I'll just dive right into it and go right into it, but I'll definitely turn it to you. But I'll do the description first. The ship is alive. A Dark Droids tie-in. Dr. Aphra and Domina Tag fight for their lives aboard a battleship that anticipates their every move. Meanwhile, Magna Tolvan faces horrors that will change her forever. Yeah, what do you think of this book?
Yeah, so this is a great kind of
See if
juxtaposition
I'm
to what
able
we
to
just talked
actually do
about.
this.
Yeah, you all good?
No.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I guess I am live without Matthew. I'm gonna just kind of vamp for a moment. As far as what's going on with this comic, hey, we got you back. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
technical difficulties. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Luckily, I didn't have to hold out for much longer because I was trying to vamp, but then I said, "Oh, he's back." Okay, so we didn't have to repeat
Yeah.
anything. Okay, so getting back to
Yeah.
this, like I was saying,
Yeah. Good
juxtaposed to
job.
what we just
Yeah.
read, we had this
Yeah.
horror story versus this fun romp story that
Mm.
we just talked about with D-Squad. So I like that there's a clear difference between what is happening, especially with from Tolvin's perspective. I like how we're getting those two storylines between Aphra and what she's doing with Domina Tag, and then you have over on the other side of things on this rebel freighter, perfect kind of horror story. You know, it's kind of like Alien or something. Like, they go exploring on the ship. Next thing you know, the droids attack, and nobody's surviving. It's pretty bloody. It's these poor people. We didn't really learn a lot about these people, her crew, but it's still sad to see like these poor people just getting torn to shreds, and then Tolvin being used by them because she's a cyborg. And we know that from the previous issues, whether it be Star Wars or Dark Droids number 3, that we need to have those droids, or those hybroids, if they call them, or whatever. It's the cross between droid to human. So eventually Scourge can understand, and then eventually just go for organics. They don't even need cyborgs anymore. They can literally just take over any organic eventually. So he's going to literally take over the entire living organism of the galaxy there. So I thought that was pretty cool. The idea with Domina Tag, I love seeing her in action. I like seeing her technology, seeing her energy shield coming out, and just going ahead with the sword and just taking everybody down. I think we're still having some technical difficulties here. Um, So we're gonna just continue on with this review as if I'm doing my own comic book review, which you could watch on youtube.com/starraptor. As far as the overall thing here, I really enjoyed the Spark Eternal connection. Getting to see, are we good now?
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good.
How much did you hear of me talking? Let's put it that way.
I think I
Did you?
heard something about a horror story and cyborgs and something like that.
I just don't know if I should go back and like repeat everything over again or what.
What? Give me the gist. Give me the gist for my own sake here.
Oh, okay. So quickly, 30-second spiel.
Yeah.
We just went over D-Squad. D-Squad was like that fun romp type of adventure, and then we go and juxtapose that story with this one with Dr. Aphra 37, where it's just straight up horror. We got Captain Magnetolvin, her crew getting torn to shreds. We get to see another cyborg that is basically assimilated into the Scourge itself. And then on the other side of things, we have Aphra and Dominatag just suddenly realizing, oh, it's the droids. They come to realize that they understand what's happening. It's like one of the first kind of bunch of characters that actually start to realize what's happening. And I like how we get into the mind of the Scourge. This is great kind of connective tissue to the Kira storyline with the Hidden Empire, with everything that went on with the Maxine Station. With, oh yes, there are two entities that came together. This is a Scourge, acknowledging the Scourge, acknowledging Aphra's, oh, you didn't work, you weren't a worthy host as the Spark Eternal. So it was really neat getting to understand again, like a more concrete version of what exactly happened, what is the purpose of this, where are we going? Now we have a character that actually knows what's happening. As I said from the start, I think Dr. Aphra is going to be one of the solutions to figuring this whole thing out and reverse engineering or defeating the Scourge in any way. But yeah, it was huge at the end there, that cliffhanger. This is one of those things I wanted to see for a while. It's just like, okay, starting to have characters floating with other storylines. We're seeing Byler Valent, we're seeing Lobot. You've never seen any of those characters in any of the Dr. Aphra comics. So it's kind of like, all right, if you guys are like us and you're reading everything, you get rewarded because now you're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what happened with these guys. We've seen last week in Star Wars. We've seen a couple weeks ago with Byler Valence being taken away. So now we know Byler Valence is also. So it's like, oh my gosh, the Scourge has this dream team of cyborgs that are about to wreak havoc, essentially. And then even more of a zinger, Aphra has to go back to side of Star Wars again for help. So it's like, wow, this is this is really going crazy places.
Yeah. First of all, connective tissue. I can't let that slide. That was great. Happy October, everyone. Halloween's coming up. And you have I'm pretty sure that's the chef droid who turns into a whole ship of murder bots because the Scourge is out for flesh, but also carving up that rebel team only to lure in Tolvan. Yeah, it is formidable, and this really does feel like a midpoint to the whole crossover event because we finally get this explanation of what happened on the station, like you mentioned. And at this point, this is the point that they've been building towards. The Scourgers have been building towards. I want a cyborg. I want the ability to translate my consciousness not just to metal, but also to flesh. And we've heard this before. We've seen it say this before. If I'm everywhere, I don't have any enemies anymore. I wonder how true that'll be. I wonder, I mean, we have this myth of, if everyone is just one, imagine, here I go. Imagine, there's no heaven. Imagine there's no countries, no matter whatever. What if we just find something else to fight about? And I know Yoko Ono, I know John Lennon are getting at the point of what if we have stop having things to fight about. But for the Scourge, who's trying to consume everything and collapse everything into one monolithic unity, it's not going to work. There's always, we have the 000. There's always the need for personhood and the need for selfhood. So anyway, that's a bit of a aside, but to say, that they, actually, it's actually being able to finally get to a cyborg. Didn't work for Vader. Vader was too powerful. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
something about, well, being Vader being Vader and being that strong, but also to say, okay, now we've got Lobot, we've got Byler, like you said, we've got
Yeah.
Tolvan. We have characters that we've all also been invested in. Those of us
Mm-hmm.
who've read everything, right? I mean, we've that's the fascinating thing of these choices of the characters that they made. They happen to be all the most prominent cyborgs, but it's going to be really, really kind of heartrending for Lando and for Tonga and for Afra. And so, yeah, it almost worked out too nicely that way. It's funny
Yeah.
to see. We know Tonga. We know Lando's gonna have trouble killing Lobot. We know uh, Tonga's gonna have trouble killing Bylor maybe.
Oh yeah.
What's Afra gonna be able to do with Tolvan? I mean that's the
Oh.
question. And it is this awkward thing where she goes back. I mean, she seemed to have more of a real relationship with Sana, maybe because Sana's just the most mature of all of them. But uh, yeah, for her to go back to her and back to Sana and say, "I need help," and that is definitely the character growth that Afra has shown over this time. It's interesting to see Domina in this to be more vulnerable, to say, "Oh, I've my ship is overrun. We've got to abandon." Then she
Mm-hmm.
obviously takes charge again. She has this.
Yeah.
She's fine with letting go of her uh, galaxy spanning lab or whatever. Not galaxy spanning, but this lab ship that she
Mm-hmm.
has that probably has some pretty deep importance to the Empire. Whatever she's researching there. So to let that go, I'm sure she has backups in different places. But yeah, it very much there. Well, that's the amazing thing about this crossover is, yeah, everything is so interconnected and so well paced and well structured,
Mm-hmm.
but also that what they're doing and just realizing this now, and it's just been in the last 2 weeks or so, where we have these three cyborgs that have
Mm-hmm.
this importance to these characters. And so
Yeah.
um I really want to know, I'm really curious to listen in on that conversation between Afra and Senna. I'm sure Alyssa's gonna give it to us, but uh yeah, like if that conversation there, I mean, I've always thought with Afra, her ability to turn and learn how to trust the people who love her is going to be her way forward and going to be something that might save the galaxy. I mean, that's the theme, especially of Return of the Jedi. That's the theme of Star Wars. Is this is how we win, not by killing what we hate, but by saving what we love. And in the midst of this carnage and destruction of this overwhelming Scourge
Mm-hmm.
droid,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, there is not just. Well, here's the thing. It's um, it's not like we're disconnected, independent from each other. We don't lose ourselves in this morass of whatever, but we do have to connect and we do have to depend. And so
Mm.
yeah, to see Afra learn that deeply, and she has over the last, especially with Alyssa Wong's arc. um when on the Amexine station, when she almost dies and everyone has to come in
Mm.
for the rescue. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really profound. Yeah, and really profound where it's going. So uh great work by Alyssa Wong. I don't know if you have any further thoughts.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if it got cut off. Did you hear about the whole connection with the Spark Eternal and all that? Did we talk about that? I know I was talking about it, but you
Yeah,
might
I
have
did.
been
Yeah.
out of. Okay. Yeah.
No,
Again.
well, I got it on the recap with the Amexine station. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So good.
that's cool stuff. We're getting that connection there to everybody. Yeah, I did. It didn't dawn on me. You did a great job of kind of showing the impact of why these three cyborgs are important, because they have built in the time to have characters that have, whether it be platonic or romantic relations with each one of these characters.
Mhm.
So from the perspective of Lando,
Yeah.
from Sana, from Afra, from
Mhm.
from Tonga, right? All these characters are going to be could be hard, right? It's like, what happens when like somebody
Yeah.
like your best friend becomes a zombie or something? Like, are you gonna
Yeah.
pull the trigger, blow out their brains? Are you gonna just kind of let them just waddle around for an eternity, whatever? It's like, what do you do, right? So it's gonna come
Exactly.
down to it, and there's a lot of characters' fates that we don't know what happens. We could again, I'm like, oh wait, Lobot showed up in Last Shot, didn't he? He was helping Lando take back Bespin or
I
something.
think so.
I thought so. So he's relatively
Yeah.
safe. But the other two, it's like,
Yeah. You never know.
stakes are getting raised for sure.
And it's amazing to think then, Lobot, the Lando. I mean, we really got the most of Lobot in this 2015 short run by Charles.
Yeah.
So, right. That's been brought in. Byler and Tolvan, that's, I mean, Byler, we know from, the early Marvel comics, but it brought in around 2020, 2021, those comics. Tolvan, is she from the Gillen run? Is she from Gillen's Vader?
Dr. Aphra.
Yeah, but where does she come in? I forget.
In the Dr. Aphra issue number 3, I think.
Okay, but like
Where
from
she went to
2017,
Yavin.
2020, or
was it?
Yeah, like what year is it? It's been a while, I guess.
Oh, what was the first run? It was
Okay,
the
yeah.
first run, and it was like issue number 3 where Aphra goes to Yavin after it was taken over by the Empire, which I love that, by the way. I love seeing like the aftermath of, the Empire swooped in and it just established itself and tried to take out relics of the rebels and stuff like that. But yeah, that's where she showed up. So yeah, the Dr. Aphra comics are just straight up comic book characters. There's really nobody from movies or series or anything. It's just all made up brand new characters, which is always nice to see.
But
same with bounty hunters for the most
t-shirt.
part.
She still gets a t-shirt.
Yeah. And an action figure. I have the action figure.
Oh yeah,
the
she got the
vintage
that's true.
edition.
See,
Yeah.
Hasbro, you can do the right thing. It's fine.
Yeah, you don't have to keep printing out another Vader and Mandalorian every year. Believe me.
There you go. Or even like just thought this is definitely a tangent here. The droid from Andor, one of the random R4 droids from Andor is getting a Black Series, but there's no High Republic Black Series. Anyway, that's me being salty. Love it. On a happier note, I don't know if you have anything more to say about Aphra 37.
As far as Aphra number 37, I think I said my piece for the most part there. I think it's just Dr. Aphra's their story that they're always solid. They always deliver every single time. There's some emotional weight, but it mixed in with the horror. You gotta love it this time of year.
That's true. Quick note: Alyssa Wong, their Captain Marvel run just kicked off yesterday.
Oh,
so
did you pick it up?
I didn't. I just saw they tweeted today, and I was like, how did I miss this? Because
wow.
I read Kelly Thompson's run, and that finished really great. And then it kind of took a bit of a break, but just in time for certain film to come out in a month. No, less than a month.
Less than a month, man. Like 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, shoot. We're getting to Marvel. And so Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, Alyssa Wong is writing Carol Danvers. So definitely got to go. That's got to make. I'm gonna actually call my local comic book shop and check that out and see if they have any extra copies. If not, there's other shops around. But definitely check that out if you like what you've read in Aphra. Alyssa definitely has a way with characters, has a way with complex, intriguing, heroic, but. Yeah, I mean, Carol's quite more heroic than Shelley is, but well, it's still a complicated past too. So very curious to dive into that as well. We won't cover that on the tractor because it's not Star Wars, but although the Flurkin's name is Chewie in the comics, so, there we go. So, anyways, on that note, Chris, where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at StarRaptor. I am tweeting about Star Wars, video games, and skateboarding from time to time. You can also find me on YouTube, where I've been continuing my long hiatus from Jedi Survivor. I've been putting out a video or two a week of that.
So your hiatus is done now, is what you're getting at.
What do you say?
Your hiatus is done now. You're continuing.
Yeah. I've just got back now. I'm back into the thick of it, relearning. It's never easy taking a step back from a hardcore type of game like that, and then having to step back in. So luckily, I am not live I won't tell you how many times I had to edit certain things out because I just don't want you guys to watch me die about 30 times. No, I'm not. I'm not that bad. I'm not dying 30
Are
times.
you
But
sure?
anyway, you can find all that content youtube.com/Star Raptor. Also, for all of your High Republic needs, you can go there as well. I have my review and recap of No Big Deal, the first short story inside issue number 222, written by Lydia Kang over there on the channel. The what is it called? Tales of the Occlusion Zone.
Yeah.
Very good start with Josh and Pika Agron. So I have all the details about that on the channel. I think we're getting off to a really good start between that and Shadows of Starlight, which maybe we'll review next week. Maybe, I don't know.
It maybe not
Because
Shadows of Starlight,
actually,
but yeah, sorry.
yeah, because then in 2 weeks it's issue number 2 and
Yeah.
issue number 1 of High Republic, so we got to be caught up by then.
Yes, I promised. So 2 things there. Yeah, the Insider Short. When I get caught up, we'll definitely talk about the Insider Shorts. Definitely Shadows of Starlight 1 and 2 and High Republic. It is my favorite thing in Star Wars. I'm about a third of the way through Tales of a Light and Life, so I'm gonna do some more reading that tonight. Hopefully, get through 2 stories tonight, if not 1. Yeah, we'll see. Sorry, 1 story tonight, if not 2.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, definitely. Yeah. Generally, I just don't have my copy of Insider on me. So if I did, we would have done the. I guess this is also the Return of the Jedi story in that one as well.
oh
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
So we would have definitely,
And
if I had that on me, would have definitely done that today. But
oh yeah, and real quick, because I almost forgot to plug myself.
yes,
Again,
yeah.
tomorrow, check back on my channel, youtube.com/Star Raptor. This guy over here is going to be a guest on Outer Rim Transmission. I'm also returning after a hiatus. I've been off for about 3 weeks on that. So resuming with you and me having a good old chat about High Republic Phase 2, a spoiler cast, if you will. So if you are interested to know more, if you don't care about spoilers and just want a good brief recap of everything, we're going to do our best. It'll be more of a casual conversation, but we're going to definitely talk about characters, themes, just speculation, just a lot of connections, and just some of our favorite moments that happened in Phase 2. So tune in tomorrow. We're going to be going live on my channel, youtube.com/Star Raptor, around 9 p.m. Eastern, for about an hour or so. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we'd love for everybody on the Star Wars Underworld Network to come over and check out what we're going to be talking about. One of our favorite things in Star Wars, the High Republic, keeping the flame burning as you know, all the film and TV stuff is on hold. That this is what's going to be the hot topic over the next several months. So strap in. It's going to be a good one.
It's how we roll. How we roll here at Iron Cannon and Outer Rim Transmissions and Tractor Beam, etc. Keeping the spotlight on all these wonderful Star Wars stories that are continuing to come out. The answer is Marta. Marta Rowe is the answer to top 3, top 4 characters, favorite characters in all of Star Wars canon. Just putting that out there. Just this also a bit of a preview. I will be at my parents' place recording, so you won't be able to see this stuff, but hopefully we'll figure out a good setup. But until then, yeah, it's been fun. You can follow me. I should actually tell you you can follow me. Twitter, NEUG485, Instagram and Threads, NEUG1138. Full disclosure, I'm going to flood you all with my 1989 Taylor's version photos that I've kind of went nuts with. But yeah, there's some Star Wars content in that one too. I'll say that. Excited for that to come out tomorrow. Taylor. Yeah, and then at the Iron Cannon podcast, Joel and I are coming back right back at you 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. On Monday, we are talking about the Old Republic in canon. Whatever's there, whatever morsels and whatever we can spin out. So join us in the comments and whatnot for that right here on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel, which still exists, still going strong, holding it up. But and it's hopefully Underworld Facebook StreamYard has some issues with Facebook, so we'll figure that out. But also Underworld Twitch, Iron Cannon Twitch, Underworld Twitter, Iron Cannon Twitter, where you can check all these things out. Until then, happy reading.